Alrighty folks, playing across 5 Aprils, Gettysburg. We're 5 turns in, so it's just after noon on July the 1st. You can see where Ewell's Corps is pushing real hard to come up and push down the Chambersburg Pike to get into Gettysburg, get it all these juicy, or deprive the Union of all these juicy objectives. Their objectives are mainly down back here, so it's going to be hard for them to get over there, although I would assume AP Hill starts coming in from this side at some point coming up here. We've had some rather unimpressive combats. We've taken some steps. These are the only 2 units that have been destroyed so far. So brigade out of Heath's division, and then a battery of horse artillery for Buford's cavalry, which is pretty worthless. As you guys can see, it doesn't have an attack factor, which is a real challenge in this game. But anyhow, all right, so that's where we're sitting. 5 turns in, about halfway through the first day, and here we are. All right, we'll get back to you. All right, folks, we're looking at the end of turn 6. I know I did the first 5 turns in one little clip, but 6 was kind of a big deal. We had the Union say, screw it. We have these little super mobile, not super duper strong cavalry units. We're going to try and run them around, hit maybe this objective, something like that, maybe harass some of the Confederate artillery that was alone on this ridge. Except for then, all of a sudden, Ewell's Corps came in, and so I sent 2 big chunks of Ewell's Corps up here to try and take Gettysburg, and then Cemetery Hill and Culp's Hill. Sorry, that's Cemetery Ridge and Culp's Hill. So that's terrifying. And then also I decided to send a couple big old beefy regiments up here just to kind of help out in taking Seminary Ridge, as well as to push these guys back. The Union combat chit got pulled relatively quickly, which meant that those guys had to bounce back. These 2 mutually supporting positions, however, were able to attack a Confederate formation that was right here. They pushed them back. That was good for the Union. All the Confederate movement chits came up. All of them. So the Confederates kind of had to just swarm forwards here. Granted, they only have 2 corps on the table at this point in time, so there are only 2 chits. But anyways, point being, the chits really favored the Union this time, so all the Confederates had to move. Then the Union got to move, so we got to just bum rush the Confederates here. And then the Confederate combat chit came up, which is really problematic given how mandatory attacks and then retreats through zones of control and stuff work in this game. So while we only knocked 1 marker off, we did knock a couple chits, or a couple steps off here. So nice reprieve for the Union. We're just having to run back real quick and try and occupy these positions to prevent the Confederates capturing them before the end of day 1. Alrighty, folks, end of turn 7. Again, the Union kind of had a favorable chit draw this time. Their chit came up first, so they were able to either knock back or attack where they needed to. They, for the most part, fell back, which was fine because then the Confederate combat chit was the second to last one to come up, so the Union was able to move up and force either attacks or withdraws on the Confederacy. The Confederacy were repulsed with some losses over here, which is bad because that's 2 big brigades from Rhodes' division that got pushed back by these couple little understrength cavalry units. Ewell's Corps is continuing to advance and come into Gettysburg itself. Another corps over here is still relatively stopped. They were pushing the Union back, but they lost 3 big chits in a rather good odds for them attack on the Lutheran Seminary here. But yeesh, dice were not in their favor. They lost some big chits down there. That's not good. The Union is continuing to try and reinforce Cemetery Ridge and Culp's Hill over here, including 1 additional brigade running up from the rear. So again, that's end of turn 7. We had some good losses. We're knocking chits off as they're running around with 1 step left. So we'll see how it pans out. The Confederacy is making a really good push here, and the Union don't have a particularly huge amount of reinforcements, so they need to be concerned about that. We'll see if they can hold Cemetery Ridge and Culp's Hill. All right, end of turn 7. We'll be back. All right, turn 8. Not a whole lot's going on. Again, a relatively frustrating turn for both sides in terms of forcing combat. We did take some losses again fighting around the seminary. The Union was pushed back. The Confederacy was pushed back with losses, but then the Union pulled their chit and were able to move back in. Again, so we've got Rhodes Division over here is still trying to get up. More fighting around Cemetery Ridge. Culp's Hill is undefended. We've got some Confederate troops getting real close, but Slocum's 7th Corps is coming up in force right behind them, so that's going to depend on who pulls that. Those are Confederate objective markers, so we might see it start to happen. But here we go, on to turn 9. Okay, so turn 8 may have been pretty peaceful. Turn 9 was not. I actually left the casualties kind of where they lay. Over here, we had a big old Confederate brigade finally wiping out. These 2 Confederate brigades finally wiped out the last of the Yankee cavalry. Oof. Very, very costly. More fighting around seminary right here. Massive casualties, just stacks. 3 Confederate chits, 1 Union chit, 1 Confederate chit. Not good. Over here, we still kind of just have a maelstrom of random stuff going on. Lost a couple Confederate casualties, nothing huge though. And then Slocum was able to move up and reinforce part of Culp's Hill. It's going to be a big thing figuring out who takes these last 2 objective hexes on Culp's Hill. And my man Dan Sickles is finally running on here. Hasn't quite made it to the Peach Orchard. I don't know if he's going to have to make it to the Peach Orchard. Was feeling pretty good once all these guys had been cleared out because of, again, how the chits were drawn. And then I looked over at the reinforcement chart, and big old chunk of 5 more brigades and a big old battery artillery from Ewell's Corps coming right back up that road, back for Seminary Ridge. So we'll see how that plays out. These guys are getting pretty tired right now. To quote the Modern Warrior poet Forrest Gump, getting pretty tired. I think I'll go on home. Can't go home yet though. Gotta stay at seminary. So there we go. Turn 9, getting close to the end of day 1. Well, all right, folks. Turn 10 is over, and Beans, Rice, Jesus Christ, and Byron. We are just slogging it out. We've got some overstacked / dead units right here. We're just beating the bejesus out of each other all along these lines. Sickles is running up. Joe Johnston's division just got here, so that's another powerful Confederate force coming up here to try and take Seminary Ridge. This is bloody. We have a big old casualty pile, and it's stacking up. Come night here after this next turn, which is turn 11, is the last daytime turn. Night turns, you can basically move around and entrench, but it's going to be an interesting one. It's getting bloody, but the Union's kind of holding in 2 distinct sectors here. The issue is the Confederates are really having trouble trying to get things through here, units through to separate. Not that I'm really super duper sure they'd be able to exploit any separation anyways, because the Union is just sticking to their heights. All right, well, here we go, guys. All right, end of game turn 11, also known as the end of the first day, July 1st. We've got up here, these elements of Ewell's Corps are really not getting the job done, getting onto Cemetery Ridge and Culp's Hill. They put a real beating on Ollie Howard's corps, as well as parts of, Reynolds' Corps, but mainly just beat the bejesus out of Howard's 11th Corps. Over here, the Confederates are reinforcing in strength, still not super duper able to capture McPherson's Ridge or Seminary Ridge anywhere, past the seminary, which blocks the road as well. So there we go. We've got more of Ewell's Corps coming up, remnants of A.P. Hill's Corps here, and then more of Ewell's Corps up here. A.P. Hill's Corps got mangled. But yes, there we are. Dan Sickles is still trying to come up here. The Union managed to push the Confederates back up here. And Madman Dan Sickles did get to jump in on that. So there we are. That is the end of day 1, July the 1st. End of turn 11. If we want to get all the pictures of those, I need to determine day 1 victory conditions, set the thing in across 5 Aprils, and we'll be back with you. Sorry for the shakiness, guys. End of turn 11. Day 1 is over. Alrighty guys, McMurray back with the end victory condition checking on day 1 of Across 5 Aprils. Here's the troop dispositions as they sit now. So, victory conditions. For the Confederacy to win, they have to control 1 objective hex, which they have not quite been able to do. They've got a number quite close to within their grasp up here on Culp's Hill and Cemetery Ridge, but those are hotly contested and they keep fighting back and forth over those. They don't control either of those. They don't have any of the ones down here. There really aren't any in this sector of the battlefield for the Confederacy. So that is not the case. Additionally, they'd have to have a 1.5 to 1 ratio of victory points over the Union. That being said, those objective hexes would contribute 6 victory points as well. Okay, so the Union has to have more victory points for inflicting losses on Confederate units than the Confederate player has. That is determined by, here are casualty piles. Each 2-step unit eliminated is worth 3 points, and each single step taken off a 2-step unit on the field is worth 1 point. Here are our totals. For America over here, they've eliminated 17 2-step units and 8 single steps off the field, giving America 59 victory points. Okay, the traitors over here have taken 4 single steps off the field and have eliminated 11 2-step dead units, leading to 37. So at this point in time, 37 to 59 victory points. The Union has made day 1 of Gettysburg costly enough that Lee says, nope, pack it in. We're getting the hell out of here. Going back to Virginia. So there you go. You've got the casualty breakdowns by unit here. All right. So there we go, guys. The only formation completely destroyed was this Union cavalry. All right, guys. That's Cross 5 Aprils. Day 1. Union victory.